economic hearts of Jamestown, the Crawford Furniture Factory. And it's a testament to the city's legacy. Jamestown once was called the furniture capital of the world. It was once a source of pride for this community, but now it's a toxic eyesore, possibly filled with hazardous chemicals and asbestos from its industrial past that are preventing this site from reaching a new potential. As many of you know, 2 months ago, a fire broke out at this building, and that made what was once a blight in the community a potentially dangerous public health and environmental hazard. It's been years that this property is sat abandoned. We should all be thankful to the firefighters, the police, the first responders that worked very hard, very diligently, and safely prevented this fire from spreading to other commercial or residential air and chemicals. And so we are here to say enough is enough. And so I am here to launch a two-pronged plan to help Jamestown clean up this eyesore. I am calling for the Federal Environmental Protection Agency to launch a full investigation and coordinate with Jamestown to bring all resources to bear to ensure the continued safety of this community. Pending the investigation into the site's contamination, I stand ready to help Jamestown tap the billions in funding for cleanups that I secured in the bipartisan infrastructure law, to spend that money and clean up this site. So let me explain. Old abandoned industrial sites like the Crawford Furniture Factory can pose a serious problem to smaller cities like Jamestown, a city I really love and have gotten to know over the years and helped in so many ways. Experts warn us, because of the age of the building and the treatments used on furniture at the time the factory was operating, it's possible the site contains toxins, acetone, chromium, and of course, asbestos. And if that fire had gotten worse or spread, these could very well have spread far into our community in the atmosphere. And if the investigation turns up the toxic chemicals we fear, the cleanup cost is not going to be cheap. It's not the kind of thing a smaller city like Jamestown can afford on its own. So just ask the mayor. They already know this is $1 million plus problem, and they can't afford the cleanup on their own. So I'm happy to share that the EPA is already doing good work here at the Crawford Furniture Factory. They did a good job helping fence off the site quickly after the fire, and they've been working with the city prior to the fire to remove several drums of hazardous material from the site. But we now need them to quickly assess the public health risk and determine how bad the pollution is here and exactly what kind of cleanup efforts we're going to need, especially after the fire. I'm asking them to complete this ASAP. Once they determine it's a health risk, that frees the federal dollars. And as I said, I've gotten billions of dollars in the infrastructure bill for projects just like this. This one isn't going to cost billions of dollars, of course, but there's ample money, so we don't have to get new money allocated. We just have to get EPA to examine the site, declare it's a hazard, and then the monies will start flowing. It'll be my job to make sure they get here quickly as possible. The cost and the burden should not fall on the taxpayers of Jamestown to clean up someone else's toxic mess. And this isn't the first fire Jamestown experienced. The old Royal Upholstery Factory also experienced a devastating fire. It was smaller than this one, but it depleted 3 years of Jamestown's reserves to perform the cleanup. And that's why I need EPA to be on, and I'm going to push EPA to have all hands on deck to provide as much federal aid as Jamestown needs to complete a Superfund cleanup action at the site. I've just charged up this program. They've gotten over $3.5 billion in the bipartisan infrastructure law. That's more than plenty for Jamestown to get a fair share, while also we've reinstated the Superfund tax. So once the EPA pays for it, they can go after the people who own the property, the people who were negligent and let the fire occur, and recoup the money. They can sue them. That law had expired. got it put back in place. So even the federal taxpayers ultimately wouldn't have to pay for this. Okay? And then we also got in the bill $1.5 billion for the EPA's brownfields program. That's the largest investment ever. And once they're done reviewing and cleaning up the site, brownfields can restore the site, can use the site so it can be used for something else. So it's sort of a 1, 2, 3 punch. First, they come in and assess and see what needs to be done. Second, they pay to clean it up. And then third, brownfields come in and makes the site good as new so that someone else can come here and employ people and things like that. So, from start to finish, I made sure places like Jamestown would be best positioned to get the federal support they need to clean up sites like this one that keep our communities up late at night worried about stuff like this. Overall, the EPA estimates that the historic investment in cleanup funding will secure 154,000 jobs and assess 18,000 sites across the country. So other places in New York that have these problems will benefit as well. And you know I'm going to be pushing. I'm the majority leader. I use my clout to benefit Jamestown, Chautauqua County, and all of New York. And I'm going to be using my clout as majority leader to make sure all of this happens cleanly, as generously as can be, and ASAP. We need to make this right so that Western New York residents can breathe easy, knowing their air is pollution-free, and clean up the old Crawford Furniture Factory site so it can be economic opportunity for Jamestown once again. With that, let me turn it over to Mayor Sundquist.
Thank you, Senator Schumer. It is truly a wonderful thing to have a friend in the Senate and the majority leader, especially for Jamestown. So we appreciate you being here. You know, a few months ago, we truly had a devastating fire on this site right behind me. And I want to just thank our first responders, especially our firefighters from the Jamestown Fire Department, our surrounding fire districts, county fire, and support from the state fire, who, without any serious injuries and with minimal damage to the surrounding businesses, were able to tackle this work. I'm extremely proud of what they did and their heroic efforts. You know, fires like these, as Senator Schumer mentioned, are becoming more and more common, like cities as in Jamestown. We have abandoned factory buildings owned by private interests who've not properly secured their properties. They're incredibly abundant here and other cities around us. These businesses stand next to thriving businesses such as Artone, an international manufacturer of furniture right next door, threatening not only a massive cleanup, but interruptions and damage to our existing infrastructure. This is the second devastating fire to happen in Jamestown in only 2 years. It's a problem that will continue to happen if the proper resources are not made available. Our city government is taxed to the limit with so few people and power to keep track of these buildings and to hold these owners accountable. It's one of the reasons why we're so excited Senator Schumer has been able to help us use the federal government to also continue to hold these people accountable. Now, it's not to say that proper precautions weren't taken for this building. Because of the risk this building posed, especially in the light of the Jamestown Royal Upholstery fire that took place in 2020, we took steps to secure and contact the EPA and the Department of Environmental Conservation to help us holding the owner accountable, removing the dangerous and toxic substances, and securing the building. But despite all these preparations and collaborations, the worst case scenario still occurred. Putting out this fire has not only taxed the city resources, but it's pushed us to have a massive cleanup, something that's going to put us in a strenuous financial position. The cost of the cleanup is in the ballpark of $2 million, or 5% of the city's budget, or 30% of the city's reserves. Taking out these resources will only make us more vulnerable to large-scale fires and will prevent us from taking real proactive approaches to protecting and securing these historic buildings. I want to applaud Senator Schumer in helping us to secure the EPA efforts to fund and clean up this site, and it's so comforting to have a friend to advocate on your side like Senator Schumer, who I've seen personally get involved with many efforts across cities in New York large and small, seen and unseen. And it's been so refreshing to have someone help Jamestown directly in my term as mayor. Just another example of how effective leaders have become and his tireless efforts to help all of New York's communities. So thank you, Senator Schumer, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And we've always done all of these things bipartisan. I've had great relationships with all of the previous county executives, and we've worked for many different things to help Jamestown, and that continues with our present county, not so new anymore, our present county executive, PJ Wendell.
Thank you, Senator. It is an honor to have you here in Chautauqua County, and I appreciate the work you've done. First off, I would like to say, and again, thank all the first responders. As a member now of 34 years in the volunteer fire service, when I left my office about 10 miles out, you saw the black cloud of smoke. Before I left, I heard the initial calls coming in, fully involved, and I knew this facility, and I knew the daunting task that lied ahead. Thank goodness nobody was seriously injured. Our tone was saved. If you look, you really don't even see any discoloration of the paint. I know there was some damage, and Mr. Calamari had some work he had to do, but again, for all the first responders, and thankful that there was no serious injury. The most important piece to this, as the senator said, was the ability now to go after these owners. This isn't right that a person could come into a community like Jamestown or Chautauqua County or anywhere in New York State for that matter, buy a building, let it go into disrepair, and think they're not going to be held accountable. This reenacting of that law to go after those individuals will now put a footprint down and say, we are not going to allow people to come in here, contaminate our facilities, contaminate our communities, and walk away if something like this were to happen. So again, I applaud the efforts of the senator to reenact the ability for the Superfund to go back after these owners who have allowed this to happen knowingly and unfortunately willingly. So on behalf of the residents of Chautauqua County, I'd like to thank the senator for all he's doing, all he has done to help us. And again, our workmanship is still yet to come, but I appreciate everything he has done. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Matt, who's the next speaker? I can introduce that. Oh, good, okay, good. Thank you, Matt.
We'd now like to introduce and call up Crystal Surdick, who is the Director of Development for the City of Jamestown.
Crystal, thank you.
So I have a lot of talking points here, but the senator and the mayor and the county executive hit on a lot of those, so I won't repeat them, but I do want to thank the senator for coming today. I do want to thank our state and federal partners. As they both mentioned, this is a culmination of about a year and a half of work that we've put into trying to remediate this property, hold the owners accountable, and you know, the fire could have been much more catastrophic than it actually was. As the senator mentioned, there were several hazardous materials that were removed as a result of that partnership and those efforts. So we are really grateful to the work that has been done leading up to the fire, and want to thank the county executive, all of the different departments that assisted us the day of the fire. I've not ever seen anything quite like it. The resources that went into containing the fire, preventing any damage of our tone and surrounding businesses. It was really a wonderful thing to see all of those different agencies and people come together to assist us with those efforts. It was a multiple day process of just suppressing that fire. And as was mentioned, the EPA did come in and help us secure the site, which we are also very grateful for. The Superfund program, I just heard that, so I am very excited about that. As someone who works in the position that I have as the Director of Development, and I've worked in a number of different communities, these brownfield sites, these contaminated sites, are a problem across the state, across, I assume, the country, but these programs will really help give municipalities like ours much needed resources that we just don't have to be able to protect sites like this, to remediate sites like this, and to go after these negligent property owners, which is our next task. That's something that we've been working on already. It is ultimately our goal to make sure that we hold the property owners accountable and liable for their willful neglect, and giving us the resources to be able to do that. I can't thank you enough for that opportunity, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Next, we have Deputy Fire Chief Matt Coon. Matt, welcome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Coon. I'm the Deputy Fire Chief for Jamestown, New York Fire Department. First, I'd like to thank Senator Schumer for taking time to be with us today. I truly appreciate everyone's valuable time as we gather to reflect on the incident that occurred here last November. Jamestown Fire Department, along with several outside agencies, responded to this location for a structure fire which occurred on Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. On that day, Jamestown's initial response was 2 engine companies, 1 ladder company, and 1 duty chief. On arrival, the first arriving apparatus found heavy fire conditions on all floors of the former manufacturing building. Recognizing that this incident far exceeded Jamestown's immediately available resources, an off-shift request for additional Jamestown firefighters, plus a mutual aid request from our neighboring fire departments was transmitted. Ultimately, a total of 15 agencies responded with their equipment and nearly 100 firefighters and support personnel to bring this incident under control. In total, this incident required 3 days to fully extinguish the fire, and fire investigators have determined the area of origin was on the first floor. Despite the lengthy firefighting effort, no injuries were reported. Incidents of this magnitude, while rare, truly require more resources than the city of Jamestown has available at any given time. I wish to extend my sincere appreciation to the following agencies for their assistance at the fire scene. My fellow members of the Jamestown, New York Fire Department, Jamestown Police Department, All-Star Ambulance, Falconer Fire Department, Celeron Fire Department, Lakewood Fire Department, and the Chautauqua County Office of Emergency Services. Additionally, I also wish to thank the following agencies for the provision of water supply at the fire scene. Bust-Eye Fire Department, Kyantone Fire Department, Asheville Fire Department, Fluvanna Fire Department, Frewsburg Fire Department, Ellington Fire Department, Gary Fire Department, Sinclairville Fire Department, Panama Fire Department, and the Randolph, New York Fire Department. To all the agencies that responded, I extend my sincere appreciation and especially my gratitude for all the support shown on that day. Without your assistance, this incident could have met a much more tragic ending. To the citizens of the city of Jamestown, please know that your fire department remains steadfast in our commitment to protecting your lives and property. In closing, I wish to again thank Senator Schumer and his administrative staff, Mayor Sundquist and his administrative staff, and countless others that have provided assistance to us in our hour of need. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And it just shows, in communities like those that the fire commissioner mentioned, deputy commissioner, everyone pulls together. When there's a big fire departments from all the surrounding communities come in and help out. They don't ask questions. They don't say, well, what about this, what about that? They come right together. And that speaks so well of the spirit of the people here in Chautauqua County and in Western New York. Okay, I think that's the last speaker. One more. Council, okay. We have Council President Dulles.
I'll just be brief. I just wanted to thank the Senator for coming on behalf of the Jamestown City Council. Much has been said already. I was happy to hear that you brought up some of the history of Jamestown, the furniture industry. At one time, Jamestown was considered not only in New York State, but across the country as a furniture capital.
Yes.
Kind of ironic that just a couple of years ago we had the Royal Factory fire right up the street, just not even a mile from here. And we have always been nervous about this particular building as well as other buildings in the same situation as these buildings have aged. And we certainly appreciate any help working with us, the EPA, helping us get the funding to help clean the site up, remediate the site, and go after the people who are responsible for this. And just another, I was thinking about it this morning. Our ancestors, just the history of this, our grandparents and great-grandparents who built these buildings,
Yes.
who started these manufacturing across Jamestown, across this area. Just the pieces of furniture. I know in my own home, we have
many pieces of furniture from Crawford as well as other local manufacturers. What an important piece of our history that this site, as well as others in the city of Jamestown, represent to us. And now the challenge for us is moving the next step forward to helping clean them up, reuse those sites, and get them back into productive sites once again for other manufacturers and other businesses. So again, on behalf of the City Council, I thank you for coming here, your attention to this detail, attention to this serious problem that we have, both financially and physically, and appreciate any help that we can get. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Council President. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll take questions. And by the way, one of the things we're trying to do on a broad macro sense is restore manufacturing jobs back to America. So many that went overseas. And we've done that in the last legislative session. We're a good majority leader in some manufacturing jobs, and we're going to do many more in the next few years. We're going to bring manufacturing back, which we need to do. Jamestown's representative of that. Okay, questions, we'll take them first on this subject and then on anything else on the airlines and anything like that. Okay, questions on this subject?
What steps need to be taken before demolition?
EPA needs to declare it a hazard, which they're in the process of doing, then the money flows. Go Bills, by the way. Go Bills. I love the Bills. I'm so glad Mr. Hamlin is better and getting better and talking and communicating. I love the Bills so much. I'm not a streamer. You guys on cable will be happy to know I don't stream. But I spent $280 for NFL Sunday. What's it called? Sunday Ticket. NFL Sunday Ticket. And I could watch every Bills game no matter what city I was in for the whole season. So we're looking forward to them beating Miami big time this Sunday. Anyway.
The Superfund designation, as we heard from the county executive and mayor, the ability to go after people who are potentially responsible for this, is that money going to eventually flow back to the city, or is it going to go to the EPA?
No, the city doesn't have to lay out the money. The EPA federal will lay out the money, and then they go sue Crawford and whoever else was responsible and get the money back from them. So we don't want the local taxpayers to be on the hook in any way. If we were to say the city should lay out the money and then sue, Lord knows how long it would take. So the feds lay out the money, EPA, and then through the two programs I mentioned, and then they go sue.
Do you guys have a list, or are there other buildings that you are concerned about and want to try and get ahead of at this point? This being, another recent example with Royal
Mayor.
as well.
Absolutely, yes. We do maintain a list of various historic buildings, many of which we've tried to secure through various funds. But certainly Jamestown and many other cities have a lot of these buildings that have gone neglected. And any help that we can get to continue to secure them is most appreciated.
Do you think you'll see success in getting money potentially, or holding these individuals accountable?
Well, certainly when Senator Schumer answers the phone and helps us out, we were expecting a lot of success. But we have been working diligently through our court system, and we are trying to employ really any way we can to hold these building owners accountable. Biggest problem we have is these buildings change hands through tax auction and other things. People stop paying taxes and neglect it. And so we're constantly have to sue new people in many cases.
Let me just say this, they let this fund expire a few years ago. Some of the people in the Congress wanted to protect these special interests in the big industries and stop the Superfund from suing. But we got it restored last year. It was successful when it happened. I believe it'll be successful again.
Is there anyone that can even lay out what that assessment process for the EPA is like? You said it's ongoing, they've removed some things.
They look
already.
at how dangerous it is. Here it is quite dangerous with the chemicals, the hazardous chemicals. They declare it a dangerous site, and then they come in and clean it up. And they're in the process of doing the first step right now. I just want to push them to get it done quickly and then get the money here ASAP. Okay?
For Mayor Sundquist, probably. Has there been an official cause for this fire yet?
The cause is still under investigation. As you can tell, it's going to take us a while to figure that out. But certainly, both our police department as well as our fire department investigators have been working to settle an actual cause.
Any other comment? Any other questions on this or anything else? Yes, please.
Just to tap on your question about other areas, currently in Chautauqua County, the former Keywell site in Frewsburg has received Superfund funding in the past. So this is an example of they are going after, this is working and effectively, but as the mayor said, these buildings change hands, so it's a matter of trying to find, and unfortunately in that manufacturing company's already gone out of business. So it's, but you know, the Superfund money has helped remediate those sites, and it has currently worked here in Chautauqua County.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day. Oh, yes, go
Are we
ahead.
going to take another off-topic question?
Yeah,
Okay.
one last one. We'll take one.
From our Capitol Tonight team, have you spoken to House Speaker McCarthy, and what kind of a working relationship do you have,
Okay,
or
look,
do you
I
expect?
intend to sit down with Speaker McCarthy. We want to work in a bipartisan way. We proved it last year. Of the 7 major bills we passed, and this was the most successful Congress in decades, 6 were bipartisan. So I am hopeful that Speaker McCarthy will work with the mainstream Republicans in his caucus and work with us. There are some who don't want to work at all, but that's not what the American people want. They want us to work together. So we hope that Speaker McCarthy will work with us. We'll sit down and talk to him and try to outline that in the next few weeks. To follow the group, the small group that just wants to sort of go out on their own and be destructive is not going to help America. Okay? Thanks, everybody.